Okay guys, so I apologize here for the blackness on the top and bottom. This is an issue with RPG Maker and XSplit. So what's going on there is I'm actually having to monitor capture today to make sure that it actually can show it all. XSplit can't read direct draw games, and so in this case that includes Vidar. So yeah, it looks a little ugly here on that front. Let's see, maybe I can do something. No, I don't think I can here. But it didn't help it. So hopefully it will look okay. I'm gonna let you guys tell me if anything looks completely off. So this is a game in green light. It's also on Kickstarter right now, which I can get the link for you. And here we can start Vidar.
The day the stranger came to Vidar, everyone was excited. If he could find a way through the blizzard, maybe there was a chance we could escape. But the storm was too strong, and the snow was too deep. The stranger was not the savior of Vidar.
Alright, so this is a demo of Vidar, which is on Kickstarter and Greenlight right now. Normally in the game, a villager dies each night as the beast hunts them down. And part of the mystery is figuring that out, and a lot of this game is about interactivity between the characters. So a lot of the game takes place in the stories the different characters are able to tell. For the purposes of the demo here, what they're doing is they're telling 3 characters right off, so that each time you go through the demo, you can see a different storyline emerge between the characters. It only shows one day as well, so you don't get to see the long-term impacts of that. But you can see it from the short little vignette that we can see here played out. There's several of them we'll be able to see a playthrough, and through some of the descriptions that fit in. So Sandor, Alec, and Borbello are all dead. So that means all sorts of things happen. Those guys not only aren't available to give quests, take quests, and such. It also means that people will react to the fact that they're dead. Quests will open up, quests will close based on the fact that these people are dead. They're dead. There's no turning back. Every time you play through Vidar, different people will die, and different ways. There's no changing that fact. So the interface is pretty simple. You walk around with the arrows and such. So, as you can see here, there's the few graves out. The arrows here allow you to hit it, and you can hit space. Sometimes there'll be people out here beside the graves, depending on who's died. So, and this is not the whole town, but it's a part. This is Doriat, the blacksmith, Doriata. So, the rest of the town is part of what's in construction for the Kickstarter, along with the rest of the art. Okay, so this is one of the few times I've seen Attel actually alive doing something like that. So I haven't seen Attel do that one, though I've played through this several times. These are basically people who have their own things here, and you can see all the different items have little descriptions here. And I can read the books. Adventures of Sidar. At first, my reaction to the room was with trepidation. There was no hearth, no wind guards, and the blankets on the bed felt as though pain. Yet as night approached, I looked out my window and saw the strangest sight: children playing in the street, and so on. You can always speed it up by holding space there. And so that's this. So that's there. And here we have this. Danny is ooh, expensive liquor. So he wants us to keep an eye out for liquor and bring it back to him if we find it. How do people die? They die because the beast kills them at night. We don't know anything about the beast right now, basically beyond its threats. And so they get killed at night by the beast, almost like in a game of Wolf. The wolf kills somebody. Only this time it's not judged by another player, it's by the by an AI randomly deciding it, and they die. And so every night someone dies until you're able to either solve the whole solution, and I only know that's 100% possible from talking with the developer a bit on the game, and so the end state is basically either you beat the thing or everybody's dead, which is the most likely one, given the amount of puzzles and different stories there is. But a lot of this game is about those little stories. The stories of the people here within. So when I talk to Safinza here, so here's somebody who is trying to research the beast, and so he's trying to figure it out, and he hasn't been able to find anything yet. So they die, it says they're dead, and I don't know exactly how it will show in the final game. It might just keep it simple there as well. So, and this one is this is Bernadette, one of the, a priestess who's doing a quest. Who wants me to find the ghosts of the past, listen to their stories, and put them to rest. So, different people in here have their own little, and they have different things that they want done. And there are different quests that come in even in the beta here that happen. I guess I call it beta, it's really a demo. I guess to some degree. There'll be a proper beta later. So, this is the ice caves. This is the only puzzle area here, right now. However, there are different sets of puzzles within this. There are, I believe, all sorts of different rooms and several different types of puzzles depending on it. So I can go. Oh crap! I missed that there was the bottle up there. I'm always expecting it to be somewhere else. So movement here is pretty simple. We're not dealing with anything exotic, but it's largely just let's see here. Further and down we go. And let's see. Well, I missed the puzzle. I picked up the strange element, and now I can pass that to Safinza. Now that switch turns the arrow around, and that can... Now I turn here. Now I need to... Let's see, what will that do? Let's see what is... We'll take here. Alright, down here, over here. The other thing is that when the people die, different events can occur because of that. So, an example is that if certain people die, and I'll show this, there is one of these events actually in the tutorial that I'll be able to show. Why do I keep in the demo here that I'll be able to show you later, as though it has a mandatory trigger rather than an optional, rather than one evolving organically from people dying and quests not being done. So, it's not quite as nice as it would be throughout the game, but certain things happen, and when people when those things happen, consequences happen. This is a game, this is a buzzword you've probably heard a lot, and it's one that I get tired of because it gets overused, but emergent storytelling. And this is a game that lives by it. And so it lives on the idea of the story emerging from what's going on and what your choices are and what the people in the world are doing. So, now this ghost here, you'll see, we'll be talking about different things that have happened in the past. It's one of the themes of it are nostalgia. The city itself, well, I guess I should say village, given there's all 28 people right now, used to be the capital of a country and has slowly died out. And now, well, now it's not the beasts proving any slowly part of that. So, over here. It does the nostalgia, it shows stuff like that. With the color, with the tile set, you may notice that it is a bit faded looking here. That is very much intentional on the part of the designers, the developer and the artist. It's an attempt actually to reinforce that nostalgic theme. As I learned when I talked with the developer in an interview recently, they want it to look like those older style games so that it feels, so that nostalgia comes through to the player on a subconscious level, basically. Let's see, where can I go here to get through this one? Down, up, over. That will take me there. Up, over, no, that's not gonna do it. Down, over. Here. There we go. And up and around. There isn't any combat in this game either or stuff like that. It's all puzzles from what I've seen and different things like that. So it's not. You have to think your way through this one rather. And let's see here. There's the switch there. So every time you go through, the puzzles are generated differently. Not through direct procedural generation. It isn't completely random. You have to. There's different puzzles selected from a set of them. I think it's around. I think for the demo purposes, they've said around 20 or 10 or so. And each of those puzzles has its own little story that it can do, and then each time the rooms are generated a bit differently as well. So you're not going to end up playing the same puzzles over and over. It's part of the game's focus on replayability, always. And here we go. So now that I've rearranged all these arrows so that I slide in the right way, I'm going to go round and round. And there we are. Never found that you should. Ancient Brave and Adventure, no. This is where I died. And so I returned him. Okay, and so there we go, I leave. The day is over. I'd normally return to the town, another resident would die, and then the plot lines would change. So somebody would be killed, and then different things would happen based on that. Different people's reactions, different people would move about, different people would have new quests or old ones. Different things would happen that way. And so you can see here that they're talking a bit about what happens as a result of the choices here. By helping the spirits out, it helps strengthen Bernadette's faith. So, and help her understand somebody's love for music, and find a connection to a music box, and then she'll get possessed by a spirit, potentially. Assuming she doesn't die early on. As Sabina will notice the lack of claw marks on the amulet, making deductions of that. So, that was one relatively quick playthrough of Vidar. However, there is more to see here as different characters die, different stories emerge, and there are several different dungeons here as well that happen. Well, I shouldn't say different dungeons, relatively speaking.
The day the stranger came to Vidar, everyone was excited.
It's all ice caves because of the art needing. That's the main thing that they're trying to get on Kickstarter right now, is support for their art.
If you could find a way through the blizzard, maybe there was a chance we could escape.
There is their Kickstarter, by the way, and...
But the storm was too strong, and the snow was too deep.
Let me see if I can get their green light page here.
The stranger was not the savior of Vidar.
So I can't do it. Right. So they're killing off Alec, Cecilia, and Dorotoya. So that will change some of the different quests available. And here it is. And change how people react. So, you'll notice the first difference is, nobody's out here. This time around, no one's standing outside. That's because different people have died, different people have reacted differently. So these are little alchemy things. And so let's see, what's going on here? Empty house because Cecilia's died. So let's go check. Here's the, what's that here? I've just got the green light page here for anybody who's interested in that. So here we go. So this is Sandor. We didn't meet him last time. And he believes in God still. His son Eric went into the cave 2 days ago, thinking he was going to be a hero. And we're gonna go rescue him. I'll try to. And you'll see here there's no Danny around here because Dorotoya is dead. So they'll move to a different location. People die, they don't stay in the same location. Things change. And so does the way that people speak of the town and themselves. The Tal's speech, I've seen his speech when he's just a normal coward or just different people. So, and that lady, what she say, she's interested in finding things out. And this is the first time I've seen Danny up here because of the way the death has happened. And that's because Cecilia and Dorotoya are dead. So his hasn't changed at all. So and let's see. So yeah, there's a lot of interesting things that go on in this game and how it crafts its narrative, because it's based around the characters. It's not based around the grand epic and such. And because each of those characters' lives matter to each other, to the people around them, it makes each story come out unique. And so you can replay it to see the different stories. So this time I'm doing Sanders' quest. Well, it showed me getting Bernadette's. That's because of this. Now for this one, the puzzles work a little differently. I'll have to switch between the stranger, the main character, and Eric, the son, by pressing A. And I've always found this puzzle to be more difficult of the two. Now they're the same type of puzzle each time, but different resolution. If I continue up there, there's an arrow that points right back. So here, let's go see. Yeah, I think the one I need to go to is right here. No, it's not. It's the other one. Probably need to hit most of them at some point, but at least to start with, I need that one, or else I'm going to end up with. Oh, I guess no, you wouldn't end up with that. Maybe that's what I'm supposed to do. Oh, beat that spot with this. Oh, let's see here. What can I do? If I go up, that's a dead end. I go right, left, or right there, so I guess I go down. Up or down? I'm gonna have to check here. If I go left, I go down, but that goes nowhere from there. Go up there, I could go left, but that basically goes nowhere. So if I go up, that takes me there, which goes nowhere there. Here, that's basically dead end, so here's the left end of the blue gate. Just trying to remember how to get to the blue gates. Okay, yes, I remember. Here we are. Now, one of the things that's interesting here is that when I was talking with the developer, he was saying that a lot of the things that we see here will actually be part of quest rewards in the game. Things like the timer are going to be things that you get for doing the different quests. Same with different things like the ability to sprint or other different things. And so each time you play Vidar, you'll get a completely different experience because the options of what you can do are different. Other examples of things he was talking about include teleportation. The ability to teleport would definitely change what you do. I know it would for me, at least in this game. Let's see here. Where do I go? Up, I guess. Where else is it? To the right, there's nowhere to go. To the left. I haven't figured out how to solve this puzzle yet, actually. I've done this one a couple times, and I think I'm decent at puzzles, but I'm not great. So, here we are. So yeah, a lot of the stuff that you consider quality of life in many games. Not everything, but things that, different things. Another example is, what was the one I was thinking of there? The journal is another example of what becomes a quest reward in the game. And that's an interesting one that changes how you play the game. I mean, you have to start taking notes. And the idea is also, like, with the... you don't have the ability to see how much time you have. How much time you might spend exploring for all the different quests that you're more likely to play it cautious. So there's some interesting ideas there. I'm not 100% sure I agree with all of them necessarily but it's a very interesting take on storytelling and how to make gameplay varied. Oh no, Eric's dying. The ice has collapsed around him. And so, because Eric dies, Sandra will be grief-ridden, and Borbello will have a new quest for me. If Sandra dies that night, we might find Eric's ghost wandering about in the cave, restless. Even a character who probably doesn't even count among the 28 that the 24 that the developer speaks of, there's impact from what happens there. And I say he probably doesn't count just because of the fact that he doesn't really ever do anything directly himself. Every character in the game is a quest giver, well, aside from Eric. So this time we're going to play a little bit differently of one. So, we're going to set the Cecilia House event on. And what that does is it sets up a certain game state to show the different type of events that can happen in the game because of certain people dying, certain things being done. And so, how that works exactly is, in this case, certain people have died, certain things haven't been done, and so that set off the situation for a house fire to happen. The whole thing will explain it here a bit better than I can. Remember the exact number of names of the people involved in about 5 seconds. So.
The day the stranger came to Vidar, everyone was excited. If he could find a way through the blizzard, maybe there was a chance. But the storm was too strong. The stranger was not.
So they're going to kill off Etel, Alec, and Dorotoya because of this situation. Etel is the... I always mix up Etel and Alec. They're the guard and the alchemist. I can't remember which one is which. And the other one is the blacksmith. So. Alec is the alchemist. So, Dorotoya would have repaired the street lights. Alec would have replaced the oil in the street lights. And so, because he couldn't do that, he didn't notice and report they were broken. And until he's died, so he's not on patrol to see the fire starting. And so it's gotten out of control. And so we end up with this situation. Note that this can happen with a lot more characters dead. Oh. Sandor. Zana. And you can see the Zealot believer there, there you go, get some water, and that depends how many people are still alive will affect how much water is gonna be dumped into the house and affected. It's only 5 minutes. Apparently, how much time you get can also be part of a quest reward as well. So, a lot of the things that can help make life easier in the game are available if you do the right quest and do the right people live. However, you know, different types of gameplay emerge because different people will die each game. And so it's not that so much by choice as just necessity you have to change how you're playing. If you don't have the timer... Alright, apologies, I can fix that. This level is louder than the others because of the Disco Inferno, so it's a little louder, and I forgot to account for that with streaming. Alrighty. Is that better? Can you hear me now? So, let's see here. For the flames of fire to move here. Alright, that's good. Trying to figure out the path on this one. It's different than the Cecilia fire event I'd done previously because of how they're generated here. This is Vidar. It's currently on Kickstarter and on Greenlight. It's a puzzle RPG game that deals a lot with death. Every night during the game somebody dies and that impacts everything. Each NPC in the game is a quest giver, and when they die their quest goes away. What's happened here with the house is that the alchemist, the blacksmith, and the city guard have all died as during the previous 3 nights, and without having any of their quests done, which means that the city guard isn't out patrolling things, the blacksmith isn't able to repair the broken fire lamps, and the what was that I was gonna say? The blacksmith couldn't repair fire lamps, and the alchemist couldn't report that the fire lamps were broken when you got him new oil. And so, yeah. And yes, Wolf was my first thoughts, witch hunts and such. This is the first time. Fire is normally not the chosen method of death in this game. Normally it happens off-screen by the wolf. Or, sorry, beast. The middle of the night, in between game days. And yes, it is made on RPG Maker, however, in this case. There's a... Yes, is the answer there. The dungeon is... The puzzles are made, but there's different ways they can come about. The ways the characters interact, though, is scripted. So this character cares about this, and so this and this happens. And so, what I was talking about, that scenario with Alec, Eric, and with the alchemist, Dortoya, blacksmith, and guard is all scripted out. So it's all about the interactions between the people. In a lot of ways, Vidar is a story about the people who live in this town. It's much less a story about, you know, it's not about the stranger, your characters saving everything, though that is something that can happen if you figure out what's going on with the beast. And such. Oh, I wish he'd implemented sprint shoes in the beta right now. It's preventable in that if I'd done the quest for Sandor, for the alchemist or such before this had happened, this wouldn't happen. It's a town event that happens because those people died without certain things having been done. And whether or not she lives or dies here is completely dependent on me. So Cecilia dies here because I didn't get her out in time. In this case, well, no, I don't kill the people, actually. What happens is every night in the game, I'll run here the basic story through here. The basic one here, because it's a relatively short demo here, but you can see different things each time. Normally each night in the game, somebody dies. And so here I'm going to turn off Cecilia House event here. This time in the demo is a force thing to tell it to kill those 3 people to demonstrate town events. The developer included that in the demo. So here it is. Now it's going to randomize with 3 other people dead because of different
The day
things.
the stranger came to Vidar, everyone was excited. If he could find a way through the blizzard, maybe there was a chance we could escape. But the storm was too strong, and the snow was too deep. The stranger was not the savior of Vidar.
So there will be later on this week I'm doing up an article on this game because it caught me on green light. And I'm also doing an interview with the developer where we talked a lot about the game. So now this time, because it's the demo, 3 people have died instead of the usual 1 at night. Sandor, Cecilia, and Cezabina are all dead, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing that last name right. So, they're dead, and so who's ever around here changes. A lot of the time, sometimes there'll be nobody, sometimes there'll be 1 person, different people, depending on who's dead, who's not. So here we got Dortoya, sorry. So, the blacksmith is here talking about needing people to work together. And in front of Sandor's grave is the priest, Barbello. So, and he's getting depressed because his friend is dead. And now we have Cecilia here who's dead. And we have Danny here. Her friend is dead, and so she's here grieving. Sadly, nobody seems to really much care that Cezabina, the town scholar, is dead. But so we can see here, because three people who live in here are all either dead or out and about. That's Sandor, who would normally be over there, dead. Not Cesabina. Doratoya is out and about, and Danny's out and about in the top right room. And so you can see, yeah, and that's actually what a large part of the Kickstarter is for right now, is to get more art done. They only have this part area of the town and the Ice Tavern's basically done as of right now. They have the rest done in layout form in a lot of ways by the programmer, but they need to fund the rest of the art build, basically, is what most of it is. So you can see here. And now we can go over to the church, which is currently missing its priest, but we do have a priestess there. And so we can see here's the town guard. And so he wants us to look for imps to see about. And he's a bit of a coward. So he wants us to find 5 torches, light them, and scatter the imps. And to find the so you can see a lot of the items here have different interactable features, so to get a little bit more flavor of the world and city. So, and you can see Little Ja's speech here is very different than in the Cecilia Town event, where she's basically, you know, just saying, I'm getting out of here, or when the, in the previous one I did here. I got a shovel now. If I see some cracked ground, I can dig for that. I assume that part of it is that they're wanting to keep the same artistic style for the whole game, and a large part of that is, for the sprite art, is what they've intentionally gone with here, is somewhat of a washed out. This is Don Parsons, Carboni speaking. So, yes, I have a high-pitched voice. So this is the game that I'm looking at for To the Green this week, and I'm also doing an indie interview with them. So, yeah, the art style here is intentionally washed out because they wanted to evoke the nostalgia that is a lot of the theme for the story of the older games, of the older 8-bit style games, so that you get, the idea is to provide a subtle reinforcement for that theme and a subtle amount of sadness that it is darkened rather than colorful like a lot of those older games were. So by making it darker and less bright, they can evoke the idea of, according to the developer, is to evoke those feelings. So I'm being taking care of the imps, so I'm being sent to a room in the ice cave. And so the ice caves are the only one of the 5 dungeon environments done right now. And there's different puzzles in them. And each of the puzzles will also have different ways of being put together. I believe for this one there's several different puzzles, different ways they can be put together. I think it was 10 puzzles they said in the demo. Total, including the different ways they can be put together. So, I have 7 minutes. So you can see here, if I hit the, I have to go find the torches here. So I hit, the different arrows will point you in the right, going in that direction. Okay, so the little stars there are the torches. So we gotta go down. Pretty basic stuff for this one so far. Some of the puzzles are more difficult, and okay, that's the jump across, not the torch itself. You see the arrow there pushes you in that direction. In this case, it was the same direction you were going anyways, but it can be different directions too. And often, a lot of the puzzles are involve switching that up. Okay, I can't go up. What am I? I have to just. Oh, okay, I messed up there slightly. I wasted over a minute of time. Okay, basically nothing done. One of the things also to note is that because the game is going to be built in a way that it plays differently each time. And one of the ways the developer mentioned that he's going to do that is a lot of the different things like the timer there will be available only through quest rewards. So sometimes you'll have to be guessing how much time you have. It says 6 minutes, you have to guess how long it's been. Unless you get the timer reward. And so that's a big help to spend more time exploring and such compared to when you don't have it. Another one that he mentioned to me in specific was sprint shoes. And as I facetiously mentioned that he's trying to save Cecilia, I could have really used them the last time there. Another is a journal, for example, to help keep track of things. So some of the quality of life stuff becomes quest rewards to try and make it change how the game plays each time. Because those characters who could give them to you are dead sometimes. It's not always going to be available there because that character is now dead. And that creates a lot of different gameplay mechanics and tensions potentially, I think, along with what really interests me is how he's doing the storytelling here with the very emerging story based on the characters rather than cutscenes or anything like that. It's all about how these people interact with each other. It's about, this is how this person felt about, this is how the priest felt about Sandor. So instead of giving you that quest anymore, he's too busy grieving to know about doing that. He's no longer worried about that, he's thinking about this and he's fallen off into despair, no longer being the strong bastion of faith he was before. All that happens with the imps if they touch me is that it just pushes me back. There is no combat in the game. Just trying to think of see if I fall off, it just sets me back to the last spot I was at. But yeah, it costs you valuable time if you run into them, essentially. Apologies, I'll try and speak slower. That's probably what the issue is. Not enunciating clearly enough. I do have a bit of issue with that, sometimes speaking too fast for my own good. So, yeah, there is no combat in the game as far as I can tell. And as far as the developer has told me, it's basically all resolved through puzzles and different resolutions like that, trying to figure out where things go and what's going on. Okay, it's gotta be... And see, now I need to get up there. Alright. Really, game? You went back up to 100%? We already dealt with this. There we are. I thought that wasn't it because I'd already lowered that from 100%. There you are. Is that better? And here we go. No problem. Do tell me about that. I'm new to streaming. So, that's something. So now I'd return to town, and then somebody else would die. It does, because I'm playing the demo, so it restarts everything. Normally every day you play through, and now it would go to another day. So, now instead, it's only showing you one day here. So if Ittel survived the night and didn't die, I could report to him. So, he'll let me enter into homes he might have otherwise barred. And an example there is, in an earlier playthrough, we saw Cecilia's home was barred off. So, he'll also he'll give another quest, because his lack of courage to do things himself will become apparent. And then, if Ditoria is still alive, then you can have her talk to Attal about that. So, everything does change based on who dies, and who lives, and the interactions between them, which is a key idea of the game's mechanics. So, we could go here and look at another playthrough, because As I said, there's different quests each time, and different characters react differently to whoever dies. And here, we all know, it's randomizing the dungeon. So it's not completely procedurally generated.
If he could find a way through the blizzard, maybe.
Things like the puzzles,
but the storm was too.
But they're pulled from a chart, basically. There's a whole bunch of them for different areas. For the end game, with all the different puzzles, he's taught that there's going to be over 200 puzzle setups. So even if you do it, it's currently on Kickstarter, and it's also on Steam Greenlight here. I got the links over here. It's at $10,969 of its $18,000 goal, most of which is going for art at this point, and such. So, and there's also some more explanations there, and on the Greenlight page about some of the concepts that are going into this game that I've tried to touch on after talking with the developer. But yeah, basically, it's all going to art assets, marketing, and paying off the Kickstarter people. So, different people died this time, and so their reactions are going to be different. Danny's dead, so that's that little girl, well, not little, but teenager. Etel, the guard, so we won't be getting that quest this time. And the scholar died again. And you can see this time, nobody's out here. They're all back in their homes doing different things. Every time, the people react differently to different people's deaths. And I presume that that would continue over various days as well. Hey Dean, thanks. Maybe you can help. They've been asking a couple questions here. I've been doing my best to answer about it. But please feel free to chip in on that. So now this was going to give me. Now Alec is going to ask me to look for torches to go get some oil. So just like the time I did last time, like Alec gave me it. So, but this time it's a little different because I need to use a bucket and actually get the oil rather than just tell him. You can see here there's these different items that have interactions. And you can see what's on them here. And here's Cecilia. So, she's opening her house because she has a big house here for people who need it. And her parents apparently died already. From the Beast, which is one of the ongoing tragedies of the game that goes on throughout it, is that almost everybody has it's lost people already. As you can see here, there are books throughout it, and you can read them and see it. So, well, almost everybody will die, but, you know, everyone else might die aside from a few people, but you can win. Well, that would guarantee death. I wanted to ask this, Dean, actually, because I came across it. Does that include, the Sandor's son? I didn't think it did because he's not a quest giver, but, Eric. There's a library puzzle later on in the dungeon. That's an interesting thing. So they can give you hints to help you figure it out. Or is it that you have to take the books in and, put them in the right order? And here we got the little church over here. With cold coffee, the mirror. I didn't think so, because he doesn't get, though he has an impact, he doesn't have a quest giving in. You made it. Yeah, I've noticed that, sadly. He's always just a little too slow to get away. Interesting. And so Lilia will gives me a shovel here. If I see cracked ground, I can dig for stuff, whether or not she caused it. And here's the priest. As we saw last time, he was depressed because Sandor was dying. Now here he's talking about having faith in the gods and being sheltered by them. You can see here that there's a big difference between the two, because at this point his faith hasn't been shattered by the death of his best friend. And I haven't shown this one off, but you can change the music here. I'm gonna have to lower the sound so that people can hear me over it. But you can change this. There's the two soundtracks currently. Just the demo has a lot of replayability, even for its 15 minutes. Because some of these puzzles you don't see and they don't solve the same way, and every time different people die. You can already see the replayability, because all these people don't have quests currently, but different people die. So, these are the ice caves to take care of the imps. Again, so I don't know if this is going to be the same one or not. I don't know if it's actually a different puzzle than the one that... No, it's the same one basically. So, slightly different. It's going to be a different layout though. Well, you could refuse to do the puzzles and just watch everybody die. You know, maybe just focus on going around doing some of the quests that you're interested in and just ignore all these pleas for help. Let Eric die intentionally. Okay, same layout mostly so far this time. Let's see what happens there when I hit the... If I hit the guardrail, it sends me back, which in a time-tested dungeon here is pretty... Well, at 7 minutes, that's not too bad. I think the base is likely probably going to be... Might be 7, it might be 5, I don't know exactly. I do know that Dean was mentioning that there's a couple of rewards there for different puzzles that can give you extra time, as a lot of the game's customization and how you play it and replayability from there comes from there as well. So you could get the timer sometimes you don't have it because, let's say, Mr. Watch Sandor doesn't have it anymore. And I'm only guessing, by the way, that it's Sandor who gives you the timer. I don't know that for sure. Dean hasn't told me this or anything. I'm just guessing that Sandor is, just because of the number of clocks in his room there, that he'd be the person to give you something related to time. So yeah, the difficulty of the puzzles varies as well. Basically, with the 10 minutes, that makes the game easier for people. And that's somewhat based on luck and somewhat based on what you do. Because you can take some matters into your own hands with what you choose to focus on and how quickly you do it. It's more like he was. By the way, Dean, there does seem to be an issue with one of the guardrails there. You might notice it right there, to the left of the of this area. He seems to be a little stuck right now. And so here we go, down, over, up here, okay. Ah, they're evil, evil imps. Well, yeah, now you have the chance to ask Dean himself what his view on that is. I can't time worth a damn here right now. Okay, let's see. There we go. Oops. Makes sense. And there we go, because that would hit me so late, I lose a relatively significant portion of time. One question I did forget to ask. I forgot to ask was, are some of the quests, like say Sanders for finding Eric, gonna have to be done in a certain amount of time, like rather than just being death related? Like if you don't go and help Eric right away, you can't help him. And here we go, there's that one. Now I can go gather the oil, which means having to get around to the right spot there. Well, the timer's gone, I guess, because... That makes sense, yeah. That's the one thing that bugs me with a lot of storytelling in games at times, is like, you're telling me to hurry up and go, but you then give me forever to go and do it. It's like, really? You needed me to really hurry up, are you sure? If you needed me to hurry up, that makes sense, yeah. Only certain situations require them. So now I'd return to Tau, somebody would die, and then if Alex survived, I could give him the oil. So people will stay out later and be probably more cheerful. So if Victoria is still alive, she'll make the lantern work longer. So apparently this quest would be one of those ones that give you an extra minute in the cave. Give you a bit more light room. So it'll take several days, and she has to survive all of those without Daddy being there. So we could do either. So do I do another run through, or do we want to see the event scenario again? Which I'm sure we haven't seen. What I don't think some of you guys have seen one of the quests here, so that gives another one of those ones. And I think everybody here has seen the event. Yeah, collectibles
The day the stranger came to
imagine
Vidar,
might be possible
if he
based
could
on
find
like some of the items,
the
like the books. But Bernadette, Doratoya, and Sabina are dead. The Davina really wants to kill Sabina today. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. So our scholar is dead. Bernadette, Miss Priestess there is dead, and Blacksmith is dead. So the fanatic, the blacksmith are both dead, and so is the scholar. So here's Danny, and she's out here mourning Doratoya's death. And it sounds like she's not gonna feel up to replacing Doratoya. So I don't know if she'll continue to live in this building or go living in what's it called? Cecilia's house, based on Cecilia being her friend. So now Sandor's going to tell me to go save Eric. Well, there's an inn already. It's just not a brothel. There's only 24 people in the town. Any brothel at this point would be abandoned. And so you can see here, Cecilia is even more with the other people alive. She was at least willing to talk with you and say she's opened the house. This time, however, she's mostly just depressed about her parents being dead. And here we are. And because Cecilia is depressed, Alec is also depressed himself. Because of Doratoya and Sabina's death. Yeah, that's the work of, here, I can't remember the artist's name off the top of my head. Becca Bear. So this area has all been done. What they're wanting to fund is the rest of the artwork in the game, and that's why only the Ice Caves, for example, is available as a dungeon area right now. I think a lot of how these approaching storytelling here is unique, as I would say earlier. Here, and so you can see here, Borbello's getting depressed about Bernadette being dead, and so you can see how these characters, they react to what's going on around them, and which options open up and which ones close are all based on what happens, and that's something very different. Like most of the time, I'm gonna steal one of Dean's examples from our interview here. Like when in Skyrim you go around to talk to people, they tell you about the mage's skills, even though you're the bloody archmage. That's from the interview we did. That will probably be going up later this week. I have to format it. Maybe Friday or Saturday would probably be likely. So this time I have to try to save Eric. I know it's futile, but I'm gonna try and save him. So I have 7 minutes. And the puzzle's a little different each time with where the things are placed. And what you have to do exactly to save them. We saw it last time with the It puzzle that some of it was a little differently placed there with where they were. And this one also used a bit of a different mechanic requiring me to change characters. I don't know if that's unique to this puzzle, actually, or not, but let's see if I go here. I could actually make it there, but it doesn't really do much given I'm stuck in the middle of nowhere. One thing I will say is I wish that the colors were a little different on the green and red. Gothic 2 is very much an open world on a small scale, in my opinion. It's one of the best at doing that that's been created. It doesn't try and aim for the huge scale of the Elder Scrolls world, but instead aims for a detailed, very detailed, smaller world. Rise did some of the same stuff before Piranha Bytes went completely off the Rocket Horizon 2 and 3. Gothic 2 was their best game, I'd say, followed by Rise and well, I haven't really played another Gothic 1 yet to give a firm judgment, though I understand that probably deserves to be there too. Right. Sorry. There we go. This should be... There we go. Apologies about that. But yeah, I'm a big Gothic 2 fan. To be put at the short end of that, I think it does a great deal of world building in its small... Good idea. Good thinking there, yeah. Cool. Oops. There we are, over here. Over here. Down. Over. Up the blue. Up we go. Okay, it seems this time it was actually the same one, but I know I've solved this one in a different way on at least one occasion. So, I know that looks eerily the same, but I have actually seen this puzzle come out in a very different way myself. Yeah, and Gothic 2's world benefits a lot from the fact that it's able to be hand-placed and it's all done in that manner. And there's some of the same things here. Because of the smaller scale here, it's able to focus on the individual story of each character and their interactions with each other. So it's able to make that a strength. Because if you started adding in like 50 different characters, for example, there'd be no way to actually do that. And here we are, we can save. Oh no, he dies! Bye, Eric! So Sander survived, I could tell him what happens, and Sander would grieve, and we'd have a quest from Borbella. However, if Sander died before I could talk to him, we could find Eric here, wandering in the halls of death as a ghost. And we can see ghosts by talking to Bernadette. I don't know actually if we could see him this time because Bernadette's already dead. So we probably couldn't actually see him in this situation where Bernadette is. You can't save Eric, yeah. He's not one of the 24. He isn't one of the stars of Destiny. And here, I'm going to turn on the house event here, which maybe we can get Dean to talk a bit about some of the town events here. The town events here happen because certain people have died, and thus certain fallout happens. In this case, our alchemist, Alec...
The day the stranger came to Vidar, if he could find a way, but the stranger...
Alright, so, normally one person dies a night, 3 die right now. Now, normally this happens organically, in the gameplay, as the people die one night at a time. In this situation, Dean set it up so that these 3 are set to die. They died the last 3 nights, and so Etel, Alec, and Doratoya are dead. Etel is the guardsman, Alec is the alchemist, and Doratoya is the blacksmith. And so because the streetlights aren't repaired, Doratoya couldn't repair the streetlights, Alec couldn't get the oil into them, and Etel isn't on patrol. My first thought actually I see it was Wolf, the game, when I saw the game here, originally. And here's the different people talking, and you can see it says if he's thinking about the books in there, and that's a hint, probably a different thing that you can get hints for doing. And Bernadette here is being a fanatic. Here Sandor tries to save him. Yeah. Then we'll have to wait till the text here is done. Yeah, it's fixed. So here we have a different little layout for some of the fire here, but we have to go save Cecilia here. Now you understand why she's on fire. It's nothing I did. It's just that the circumstances of the evil beast killed off all the people who could prevent this. Actually, we don't even know if the beast is evil or anything about him. Oops, stupid Nightbot. Sorry about that. The alchemist, the guard, the alchemist, the guard, the blacksmith. Those 3 dying without having dealt with the light, without dealing with the light issues. No, you can't go through any of the fires here. You have to go around them. Around them all. We are up here, around, over. Where's the way to go? No, it doesn't seem to quite be the way to go. see, is this the spot? Yep, this looks better. Over here. And I'd imagine this challenge gets a lot easier if you have the sprint shoes. That is accurate, yes. But we're gonna make it out at this time. So, Cecilia will live. And so there we go, we made it out. And so I saved her, her house isn't inhabitable, so that means the people who are living there will have to move elsewhere. And that, depending on who else is alive, will depend where she moves in. And the different quests, the different things she offers and others have will change. So in fact, everything changes when anybody dies. It affects everyone in the town because that's how life works. Different people die, and people react to it. They don't just stand around and do that. So everything changes based on that. So still got the 30% sounds set for now. But let's make sure that this is off, because I'm gonna go see if I can get the Bernadette one here. See if I can get her to actually live this time.
The day the stranger came to Vidar, if he could find a way, but
I think it's more that only certain people are around, actually. Alex, Cecilia, and Attell have died. So. From what I've seen basically everybody die. There might be a setting that not all the major quest givers can die. That would be the only one I could think of. There has to be at least one major quest giver. Yeah. Well, wouldn't it be able to set it at you couldn't have Bernadette Sandor and either in one of the people to give the imp quest? So, Bernadette here is going to give us one to find a dead spirit. A ghost who needs to rest. Now, one thing about Vidar is that it is the former capital of a city of an empire that's basically died out. So Cezabina here is alive this time, so he'll give me my his minor quest here, that if I find something useful, he could tell me. He might be able to figure stuff out from it. And so Dobello's here talking to me. Ah, okay. And you can see here, Bernadette is worried about the past. They say you'll find graves of 6 heroes beloved by the community. And we can see here different people are out mourning. people who are dead, and Alec is dead. Cecilia is dead. And Danny says she misses her, as we saw previously on Cecilia's death. And Attell is dead. With both Attell and Alec dead, but not Doratoya, does this Kid the City fire happen? We'll see here that this house is basically abandoned, I believe, with Cecilia dead. Yep. We've talked with everyone. Interesting. So so it continues to be a threat there, unless you bring or to repair it. Yeah. Just like you mentioned with having a lot of the quest rewards given for free, like the timer and such. Oh, here we are. So we can see there's a big button there. Wonder what we need to hit. And up, over, down, over, up, down. Now we can hit this. Just open that. And so we can see the ghost here because we have Bernadette's blessing. Well, there's Chloe. While daughters call me prophet, the mother has no need for others to speak her words. Alright, let's see here. Makes sense. So they react to whatever they feel most strongly about first and foremost, rather than just whatever the most recent one is. None of this would have happened if we weren't forced into hiding. And yeah, so you can see with this quest, with this quest they tend to bring out some of the past of the game's world that's happened. So, because there are different spirits you can get there. So this one made it, though doing that made it easier. After which point they're gonna be more likely to be affected by different things happening around them. Let's see here. Interesting, this guy. Wait, no, I just realized what the issue here is. There we are. Now, I haven't done this before. I tried to see if I could leave with the ghost following me or if I have to put it down first. So, because I did put the ghost to rest here, we'll see. Bernadette is gonna be upset at the whole town. So, whereas in the other way, she'll try and be more understanding but be vulnerable to ghosts because of that, apparently. And you can already see a hint of that in the demo with what Legia is talking about. She's been digging up things. Whether or not that has to do with the beast is to be discovered at this point. So I think I've shown off most of what's in the demo. There are some individual situations at this point that can be seen. Obviously, you know, what certain people will say to certain things, but I think we've seen most of the major quests here and such now. And I'm very much excited for Vidar. As you may have guessed here from the way I've been talking and such, and the fact that me and Dee finished a relatively lengthy email interview, you know, I've fallen right in love with this game as soon as I saw it with the storytelling and such for it. Here is a link to the Kickstarter again if you want to see that. It's running for a little while longer. And here is the green light page where he's trying to get green light for Steve. To the Green will be running on Friday talking about the game some more. And shortly after that, either Friday or Saturday, there should be an interview with Dee coming up. So I'd like to thank you guys for all coming in. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. And what would you guys like to see streamed in the future? As well, I'd like to hear about that, as I've got different ones I could stream in the future. Probably not right now, as I've got to look at heading out a little shortly here, but yeah, they could use some help, and this looks like a unique game in a lot of ways. There isn't any other game I can think of easily on the market like it, and it's an attempt that can move the storytelling in the genre forward, compared to where it is right now, where you end up with things like, to use a Fallout 3 example, I'm looking for my father, a middle-aged man. Which is gotta be one of the stupidest lines I've ever heard for a game. Yes, let's wander into town and ask people where a middle-aged man is. Not that anybody will see tons of them around. So thank you everybody for coming, and thank you Dee for coming in and answering some questions for people. And now you get a moment to see my very dirty desktop here, because XSplit does not like RPG Maker.